Hello, my name's Adrian Jones. I'm your trainer this evening. Fiona, is it?
Yes, hi.
Well, I'd like to
Pleased
welcome
meet
you. Today we're doing a module. It's a 30-minute session today. So we're going to be covering work safely. So the course is actually called Participate in Safe Work Practices, and the code is SITXWHS005. Now, there's learning objectives that we hope to attain by the end of this. One of them is follow your organisation's workplace health and safety and security procedures, to use safe work practices in everything you do at work, and to take part in your organisation's health and safety management practices.
Do I have to use the internet to do that?
Not for this particular course here now, because I will be using the internet. We've got PowerPoint slides, and we've got a few fun exercises to do. And we're also, we're going to try on some PPE, some personal protective equipment. Do you have any questions? Are you familiar with workplace health and safety?
Yeah.
You've heard that term before?
Yeah.
And at your work, with your work meetings or previous jobs you've been at, have you participated in workplace health and safety? You might have called it occupational health and safety.
Yeah.
So there's two different terms, but generally in Australia it's called workplace health and safety.
Okay.
So do you have any questions, pertaining to the course? Or what we'll do, we'll run through a little bit of housekeeping, just so you know. We've got a fire evacuation procedure. It's quite warm in here, isn't it? My glasses are fogging up. You know where the fire exits are. We explained that as you came in. You've got one to the left of us, one here, and one straight through there. And we've made sure there's nothing impeding the exits there. We've done a risk assessment. But so we'll all congregate in the actual car park where we showed you earlier if there is a fire procedure.
Okay.
So we're safe and sound, so we know what we're doing. Now, workplace health and safety, although you do have an overview of it, it's generally in place to keep you safe, your clients safe, your customers safe, everyone in the workplace safe. So what I'd like to start with, I always start with this little video. It's quite a fun video. Here we go. I'm just coming to terms with, I noticed you said with the internet, and I'm just coming to terms with the internet myself. I think it's our generation, isn't it?
Yeah.
But just to let you know as well, we do have courses, we have modules in computer familiarisation and digital literacy, so it's something I can broach with you after.
Okay, thank you.
So this is called Understanding Your Work Health and Safety Responsibilities, and we'll fire it away now.
This short presentation will provide you an overview of your work health and safety duties. Everyone has duties under work health and safety laws, including employers, workers and others. Under the work health and safety laws, an employer is now called a person conducting a business or undertaking.
You'll hear that term,
or PCBU for short. Types
Everything's
of
an acronym these days, isn't
PCBUs may include a retail or wholesale business, manufacturers or importers, sole traders and self-employed people, a builder, including principal contractors and subcontractors, and not-for-profit organisations. As a PCBU, you must ensure the health and safety of your workers, visitors, customers and volunteers by ensuring safe systems of work, providing adequate facilities and effective systems for monitoring the health of workers and workplace conditions. As a PCBU, you must ensure that you identify hazards and manage the work health and safety risks at the workplace. A hazard is anything with the potential to cause harm. The risk is the likelihood and the consequence of the hazard affecting any person. Risk management should be an ongoing process. Everyone at the workplace should continue.
I'm going to pause this here actually, because this is quite interesting. Now, have you come across anything like this before in any of your studies, or?
Well, I'm guessing that red means the first thing you've got to get done really quick.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So when you sort of identify a hazard, we'll have a little scenario, like a case study now. I know you work in the cafe. I'm quite familiar with the cafe now. So let's think of a particular hazard. Let's say there's been a spillage on the floor of milk. So the main thing is we need to, first of all, we've identified the fact that's a hazard. It could cause harm to you or your workers. So what we need to do really is eliminate that. So first of all, if we can't straight away wipe that up, we need to put up sort of a sign around there. You may have seen certain things, such as, I bet you've seen this in the workplace, trip hazard or wet.
Yeah.
So
that's
signs
the
like that,
sign I
yellow
put up,
signs like that. So even when you're mopping, sometimes you'll put signs up like
just
that.
to make sure. Yeah.
So that's the most effective way of getting rid of a hazard, is to eliminate it. So then you've got substitution. Substitute the hazard with a safer alternative. Isolate the hazard. That's what we're talking
That's
about by
it.
basically around there. Engineering, that's a different way if you were to use a different machine, or let's say it's a, but really with a milk spillage, we really want to eliminate that by isolating it and then mopping it up in the
Yeah.
safest way possible. But I'll continue that there. But I like to use examples from the cafe because that's
And if
obviously where you're
identified,
working.
take appropriate actions to minimise risks to health and safety. If there is more than one PCBU at a workplace, they must work together to ensure workplace risks are managed. All PCBUs must consult, cooperate and coordinate to develop a work health and safety management system to eliminate or minimise risks in the workplace. In many workplaces, this simply means that managers, supervisors, workers and contractors will all be involved in discussions about workplace activities, hazard identification and risk management. You need to regularly review your work health and safety management systems to make sure they are still effective in your workplace. As a PCBU, you must consult with workers who carry out work for the business or undertaking and who are or are likely to be directly affected by a health and safety matter. This duty to consult is based on the recognition that worker input and participation improves decision making about health and safety matters and assists in reducing work-related injuries and disease. Consultation arrangements should take into account the size of the business, the way work is arranged, and what suits your workers. Consideration should be given to whether work health and safety issues can be addressed through one of your regular communication channels, or if there is a need to do something different, like hold a one-off meeting. A safe and healthy workplace benefits everyone. For further information, visit our website
Now
or
you'll see
contact
this is from the
NT
Northern
WorkSafe
Territory,
on
but
1800
it's an Australia-wide
019
legislation. Each state has
115.
its own website you can reach, but generally the workplace health and safety legislation will be similar across the board for Australia.
So if I don't want to go onto their website, I can call a Queensland number.
You can
You'll
call
give
the
me
Queens.
that
I
number?
can provide you with a lot of
And use it.
I'll just get rid of these ads, and I can provide you with a lot of the different some good links and even some more literature as well. So it's because it's a very interesting subject. But what I'd like to do as well. So we're talking about hazards, okay? Now this is interesting. I'll read this one out. This is about reporting health and safety and security concerns. Now, if you don't know how to do something safely or aren't sure, ask for help or training before you begin the task. And also, even if you've been given training and you don't feel it's sufficient enough, it's your right actually. We'll come across rights and responsibilities in a minute, but it's your right to be properly trained and to ask for further training. So if you are concerned about you or a workmate's health, safety or security, talk to your employer, supervisor or health and safety representative. Your concern might be faulty equipment, unsafe work practices, slippery floors, lack of personal protective equipment, lack of training, bullying or suspicious behaviour. But this is quite interesting. This is a thought-provoking little scenario here. Hayley was new on the job in the kitchen. Now I know do you have a meat slicing machine, or you use knives? You use a lot of sharp knives, don't you?
Knives, yeah.
So Hayley was new on the job in the kitchen. She was told to use the meat slicing machine. She hadn't been trained how to use it, but she felt she couldn't say no. It started to go too fast for her, but she didn't know where the emergency cut-off switch was. The machine cut the tip off her finger as the machine gun was not attached. Now the question is, how do you think the incident could have been prevented?
Well, she should have had the training.
Exactly.
And I remember years ago when I worked for Kentucky Fried Chicken, they used to have these special gloves that
Oh, yes.
chainmail.
Yes,
And
true,
so
yes.
it was protected from...
So that would have been the right protective, personal protective equipment for the job.
Yeah.
So that exactly, and also I think it says here that she felt she couldn't say no. So really, that's in a workplace you should feel the confidence. It's your right to be confident to actually put your hand up and speak out. So that's something that we always like to stress to everyone.
She should have had somebody shadowing her. On
Well,
the first
exactly,
day as well.
exactly. Then that's exactly like a shadow buddy.
Mm.
So that brings us over to employers' rights and responsibilities. Now, this is your boss, okay? It's their health and safety legislation requires employers to ensure safe systems of work, to ensure safe use and handling of goods and substances, to provide information, instruction, training and supervision to your workers to ensure they are safe. So obviously Hayley's employers didn't actually.
No,
They
yeah.
haven't. They've sort of left a lot of this beside. Assess risks and implement appropriate measures to manage and control them. But then they have the right to expect workers to follow reasonable requests regarding safety, and it's also their right to hire and dismiss workers as per Fair Work legislation.
I think as well, it's like sometimes people say on their CV that they can do things and they actually can't.
Well, exactly.
But I think you should always just assume that people don't know
Even if
processes, even if they said they've done it.
even in a lot of workplaces, I know in my experience, people might say, "Forget what you've learned. This is how we do it." So, and that's probably a good way to do it as well. That's given us the employer's rights and responsibilities. Now we've got workers' rights and responsibilities. So health and safety legislation, so you understand the legislation is the law, requires workers to comply with instructions given for work health and safety, to use their personal protective equipment that the employer provides, and that you're properly trained to use it, to not willfully or recklessly interfere with or misuse anything provided for workplace health and safety, to not willfully place others at risk, and to not willfully injure yourself. And you also, workers have the right to be provided with a safe working environment, to be consulted about safety in the workplace, and that should be a continuous thing. There should be, probably even every month, at your monthly meetings, do they address the situation with workplace? It's a continuous improvement type thing.
Yeah.
So they might say, we are putting this in place to keep people safe. Appropriate safety equipment, and to speak up about work conditions. So also, that's an important one, to say no to unsafe work. So we're talking about hazards, so that I'm going to draw us to the... Have you had any questions at the moment? Am I going too quickly, or you're
No,
quite... Yeah?
that's fine.
You've got quite a good knowledge of it already, actually, which is quite good. But hazards, so as we saw in the video, a hazard is something that can possibly cause injury or harm to people or property. So now we're talking about the hospitality industry, but hazards in hospitality can include, and I bet you'll know a few of these, liquid spills on floors, lifting heavy loads. That's one of the major sort of problems with
Like when the
workplace.
delivery of the coffee beans comes.
What do you manually lift those from
Dolly,
the?
you've got like a little dolly.
You've got the dolly. See, that's perfect, and you've been properly trained how to get down and up. Yeah. Did you have someone come in and induct you with that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's perfect. So working near hot objects and liquids.
Yep.
Yep.
There's coffee machine.
Now working with knives or other sharp tools.
Yep.
Poor lighting. I mean, I've noticed your kitchen's very well lit, so that's good. Faulty machinery, that's always a terrible one. Faulty wiring in electrical appliances. Unsafe storage of stock or equipment. Blocked stairways and emergency exits. So, I mean, you can imagine now, that's our main fire exit there. So if we had a couple of chairs there or something, that would be... See, what we do generally, you do a risk assessment. So every now and again in a workplace, or probably regularly, every couple of months or every month, some people do it, they do a risk assessment. They check for the exits, they check that everything's working well. You know, they do periodic checks on the electricals to make sure no machine's going to short circuit. So that's
Well, you have to yearly, don't you?
You have to-
get all
well,
your appliances done every
perfect.
year.
And also with the fire extinguishers, the different fire extinguishers, they've got a little steel badge on them which they clip, and you should always check that. So that's one good thing. Hopefully by the end of this lesson, and I know the previous employees from your cafe, they've told me actually when I saw them, they're mentally they're doing risk assessments wherever they go. So I mean, that's what we want to hear. So it's keeping yourself safe and keeping those around you safe. So what I'm thinking of doing, let's do a little written exercise. Now I do know in your induction you said you had an arm injury a year ago.
Yes.
Now it did say that writing for more than half an hour can pose a problem.
Yeah, it's only
Well,
just this
this
sheet,
is
is it?
there's 2 or 3 sheets there, and I reckon it's 10 minutes max.
Just
so
notes.
Just notes, little yes and no's and true and falses. So,
Okay, well that should be alright. I should be able to do that.
so I'll do this. I've got mine. You've got your pen. So if I bring you down, just halfway down the page, activity. How can you participate
Okay.
in health and safety improvements in your workplace? Because as we said before, it's a continuous improvement. Just because you've made it safe 1 month, you've got people coming in, you've got different things happening, different staff members, you've got new staff members. So really, it's something that has to be continually transmitted. So let's do this, yes or no. Now, have you, ways to participate, have informals. So circle yes for the ones you have done so far. Have informal discussions with your work group or team about health and safety problems and ways to improve.
Yeah, I guess that would be like when there's a spill straight away, you say, can someone go get the
Perfect.
thing, I'll watch
Let's
it.
yes that. But also that probably falls into make suggestions to improve health and safety. You've done that?
Yes.
Have you done a risk and hazard assessment in the work area?
I haven't, but my boss
That's fine.
does regularly.
This is something we can raise with your boss. These are certain things you can take away from here. You can say you want to participate in the next risk assessment because it's good to get an idea. You might see something she doesn't see. What do they say? 4 eyes are better than 2. Okay. Have you attended a safety induction training?
Well,
this is now, isn't it? So
yeah,
that's
and I also, when I first started.
Okay, let's tick that yes. Contribute to a discussion at a staff meeting about a health and safety issue.
I just, number 5, I do normal staff meetings.
Okay, sure, that's fine. Just go through those and we can discuss them at the end.
Yeah, well, I contribute to discussions at staff
Good.
meetings about health and about a health and safety issue. Yes, I would do that, and I feel like I could because my boss is quite reasonable.
Sure.
Obviously, making sure she's keeping to her responsibility.
Well, definitely the fact that she's enrolled the staff in it, it's a good initiative.
Well, I suppose go to a special staff or work group meeting to talk about a particular problem. We haven't specifically had that happen.
That's fine.
But
That's fine.
it might happen.
These are good. It's good food for thought for,
Yeah.
for future meetings.
Yeah, we've done a survey, but that was at the induction when we first started.
Okay,
Is
let's
that
go to the
it?
next page.
Right.
Now we've just got a couple more, I think. Attend chemical handling training. That's probably not